Hi everyone! Looks like we've gained 2 subscribers this past January, so hello new people. However, nobody's watching my exciting GovDoc videos at the moment, so I'm just gonna post one more and we're maybe gonna change topics. I don't know, maybe it's just because the marijuana ones are all too long. But this one I stumbled into, trying to find other similar sort of things. And this is monitoring changes in the novel psychoactive substance market through enhanced identification of emerging drugs and their metabolites in biological samples. And as you can see, it's from NCJRS. It's 2018, so old, but I don't feel like it's that old. But then again, yeah. We won't talk about how old I am and how time flies as you age. Alright, so it's got an award number, got some nice folks, and the Frederick Writers Family Foundation backing it up. And it's actually not that long because it's double spaced like this. So, electronic dance music festivals become a popular venue for various types of recreational drug use, including the reported ingestion of ecstasy, Molly, and/or MDMA, which has been documented by surveys with attendees and is reflected in online discussion groups associated within the EDM culture. These terms are used interchangeably, and users are often naive as to what active substances their pills, powders, or capsules contain. Within the last 4 years, several adverse events associated with a novel psychoactive substance use were reported at various EDM festivals in the United States. Both the dynamics of the synthetic drug market and diversity of, and I'm already not doing well with the acronyms, novel psychoactive substance have resulted in analytical challenges within the forensic community in detecting and monitoring novel drug use. Currently, there is not a formalized approach to identify novel substances in toxicologically tested populations. Novel substances often go undetected, or their discovery is serendipitous. How fun. Metabolic studies for novel drugs remain limited, and generally metabolite elucidation occurs sometime after establishing the identity of the parent compound, if at all. Using our established operational model of collecting paired specimens and self-reported drug use data from EDM festival attendees, we address some of the research needs focused on characterizing chemical compounds of forensic interest in biological systems by providing confirmation of the parent drugs of abuse established and emerging, and identifying metabolites in authentic specimens from a population of recreational drug users. Project design. Biological specimens and survey information were collected from participants at 4 EDM festivals in the United States over 3 locations during this 2-year institutional review board approved study. Festival sites include Miami, Florida, Tampa, Florida, and Atlanta, Georgia. Darn, no electric forest. Participants were peer recruited near the entrance to the festival or within the campgrounds of the festival. Participants were required to be at least 18 years old and not visibly intoxicated. Peer recruiters began the process by explaining the purpose and significance of the study. The collection process began with participants signing an informed consent document, which confirmed the aforementioned requirements. Blood specimens were collected into a grade top tube. Urine specimens were self-collected in a private lavatory. Oral fluid specimens were self-collected under recruiter supervision, according to the manufacturer's instructions, using the immune analysis, Quantasol. All samples were initially screened for abuse therapeutic and emerging drugs, including hundreds of novel drugs by liquid chromatography, quadruple time of flight, mass spectrometry. Oh my god, that is one heck of an acronym. Liquid chromatography, time of flight, mass spectrometry, or chromatography, mass spectrometry. I'm not going to remember all those acronyms. All samples that screened positive for one or more drugs were sent for qualitative and or quantitative confirmatory analysis, depending on drug present and available confirmatory methods. So what the heck happened while we were out doing this? So during the study, 912 biological samples, blood, urine, and spit, were collected from participants at 4 music festivals over 3 geographical locations, and in Appendix A, you can, see all that. Survey responses were obtained from 691 participants during sample collection at the 4 festivals in 2016 and 2017, from whom at least an oral fluid sample was collected. In total, 431 males and 255 females provided survey information regarding gender, with 5 participants not indicating gender. The average age of the participants was 23.7 years old, plus or minus like 5 years, which, yeah, that kind of makes sense. Then you get old and you have kids and you can't really go hang out and do things like EDM festivals. Across all 4 collection sites in 2016 and 2017, 63% of participants reported medicinal and or recreational drug use within the past week. Marijuana was the most commonly encountered response for recent drug use, followed by ecstasy, Molly, and or MDMA. Figure 2 shows a further breakdown of ecstasy, Molly, and MDMA responses. With respect to novel stimulants and MDMA, 26% of participants reported using ecstasy, Molly, and or MDMA. So, in Miami 2016, let's look at some blood and urine. Based on screening results of the 13 blood samples, only 2 blood samples were sent for additional confirmation. No novel stimulants were detected in these blood samples. 1 blood sample was positive for MDMA, MDA, and amphetamine. The other blood sample was positive for MDMA, MDA, LSD, modafinil, THC, and THC kush. Survey responses paired with both blood samples indicated use of Molly. Based on more screening results of the 50 urine samples, 38 samples were sent for respective confirmations. Novel stimulants were detected in only 1 urine specimen, dibutylin and butylin. The paired survey response information indicated that the participant only used marijuana. MDMA and MDA were confirmed in 3 individual urine samples, and amphetamine was confirmed in 4 urine samples. The paired survey responses with MDMA positive urine samples indicated the use of Molly and MDMA. Now for spit. 79 oral fluid samples were positive for THC, and 61 of those samples resulted in a quantitative value. 61 oral fluid samples were positive for 67 common drugs of abuse, excluding THC, including samples positive for more than one substance. People like to have a good time. 57 oral fluid samples were positive for a novel stimulant and or MDMA, MDA, and were quantitatively confirmed. 14 additional oral fluid samples were qualitatively confirmed for any remaining drugs or novel drugs by screening. Of note, these results include 1 positive sample for 4-fluoroamphetamine, 3 positives for LSD, and 2 positives for ketamine. Oh yes, the horse tranquilizer. Then in 2017, oral fluid, a total of 93 oral fluid samples were positive for THC, with 83 being above the limit of quantitation. 46 oral fluid samples were positive for 73 common drugs of abuse, excluding THC, including samples positive for more than one substance. 88 oral fluid samples were quantitatively confirmed for novel stimulants and or MDMA-MA. By screening, an additional 23 oral fluid samples were qualitatively confirmed for any remaining drugs or novel drugs by screening. The novel drugs confirmed included 2,5-dimethyl-4-bromophenylthylamine. Yeah, say that fast. 2,5-dimethyl-4-bromoamphetamine, trifluoromethylphenylpiperazine, benzylpiperazine, LSD, ketamine, and etolazine. Alright, Tampa 2017 oral fluids. THC was confirmed in 55 of the 131 oral fluid samples by screening, with 48 samples being positive above the LOQ. Thank you for not defining that. 9 oral fluid samples were positive for 28 common drugs of abuse, excluding THC, including samples positive for more than one substance. 33 oral fluid samples were quantitatively confirmed for novel substances and or MDMA, MDA, and 20 additional oral fluid samples were qualitatively confirmed for any remaining drugs or novel drugs by screening, including 3 positive samples for LSD, 2 for ketamine, and 1 for psilocin. Yay, psilocin. Atlanta 2017 oral fluid. 105 oral fluid samples were confirmed for THC, with 86 samples being above the LOQ, and 59 oral fluid samples were positive for 142 common drugs of abuse, excluding THC, including samples positive for more than one substance. 83 oral fluid samples were quantitatively confirmed for novel stimulants and or MDMA, MDA. 27 additional oral fluid samples were qualitatively confirmed for any remaining drugs or novel things by screening, including positive samples for LSD, ketamine, and methylene dioxythalamine. Methylene dioxythamphetamine. I know the end of it's amphetamine. I just can't say the front part. Alright, more temporal trends in Miami. Since oral fluid samples were collected in Miami from 2014 to 2017, this allowed the comparison of novel stimulant positivity, as well as MDMA positivity over time at this location. Figure 3 shows the change in novel stimulant positivity with respect to year. The data is shown as a percent positivity in terms of only novel stimulants, MDMA and MDA. While many of the novel stimulants remain low in positivity, it is important to note the disappearance of alpha PVP, the rapid rise and decline of ethylene, and the emergence of dibutylone and N-ethylpentalone. And those of you who are chemistry majors, I probably butchered all that. Sorry. Long words and mid-word dyslexia do not mix. Geographic Trends 2017. Since oral fluid samples were collected in 3 locations, Miami, Tampa, and Atlanta in 2017, this allowed for the comparison of novel stimulant positivity as well as MDMA positivity across these geographic locations. Figure 4 shows the change in novel stimulant positivity with respect to location. The data is shown as a percentage of positivity in terms of only novel stimulants MDMA and MDA. 4FA, alpha PVP, and pentalone were excluded due to no positivity or positivity at only one location. Based on this comparison, there does not seem to be an apparent distinction with relation to novel stimulant positivity and location, less than 5% difference. Although N-ethylene percent positivity was highest in Tampa, and MDMA percent positivity was lowest in Tampa. Novel stimulant survey response all years. Following analytical confirmation of novel stimulants, MDMA, MDA, the self-reports survey data responses of ecstasy, Molly, or MDMA for drug ingested were compared to confirmatory findings. Figure 5 shows the relationship between ecstasy, Molly, and MDMA responses versus analytical findings of novel stimulants and/or MDMA and MDA. These data show that MDMA was detected in the majority of samples, over 50%, regardless of terminology used by participant. It is interesting to note that no response for ecstasy was paired with a novel stimulant detection only, and all positive samples contained at least MDMA. Okay, so no response for ecstasy paired with a novel stimulant. So ecstasy tends to be by itself, it sounds like. This leads to the possible conclusion that users purchasing ecstasy are more likely to obtain preparations containing MDMA. However, it is also possible that these preparations may contain additional novel stimulants. Okay. Metabolite identification. Analysis of data from screening analysis of the human liver microsome incubation mixtures resulted in the identification of 5 metabolites of dibutylone, all of which were identified in authentic specimens. 4 metabolites of N-ethylpentalone were identified via HLM incubations, all of which were found in authentic specimens. Proposed metabolic pathways and further details related to the in vivo identifications can be found in the resulting publications. Enjoy. So this research study sought to use a cohort of EDM festival attendees as a sentinel population. Jeez. To monitor changing patterns and regional trends of novel drug use in the United States. In order to accomplish this goal, the strategy was to collect biological specimens and accompanying survey information from festival attendees, comprehensively analyze all specimens for the accurate detection of common drugs of abuse and emerging drugs, generate and identify metabolites of emerging drugs in biological specimens collected, and tabulate and analyze all data from this study and previously collected data, creating a 4-year time period across 3 locations to monitor trends and identify any pertinent information that would be beneficial to the forensic science communities, and disseminate the results from the study within the forensic science communities for increased knowledge and awareness surrounding this population, the emergence and turnover of novel drugs, and the biomarkers useful in distinguishing recent use of these drugs. All of these objectives directly relate to the furthering of information relating to investigations of criminal activity, drug use, possession, impaired driving, drug-facilitated sexual assault, and other drug-related crimes. Through sample analysis, we were able to identify dibutylone and N-ethylpentalone for the first time within this population based on our data and identify the respective biomarkers following extensive metabolic studies. The variation of novel stimulants increased from year to year. Only 4 novel stimulants were detected in 2014 compared to 6 novel stimulants in 2017. Drugs initially popular in 2014, like alpha PVP, were not detected in any specimens collected during this 2-year period, following scheduling of its precursors in China in October 2015. So that sounds like scheduling as in they put it on the drug schedule so that it got banned. Yeah, this is pre-pandemic party time, so I'm sure things have changed. Novel stimulants identified include methylone, dimethylone, ethylone, butylone, dibutylone, pentalone, utylone, N-ethylpentalone, and 4FA, in addition to common amphetamines, MDMA, and MDA. Of the 1233 oral fluid specimens collected in our study, 352, 28.5%, confirmed positive for a novel stimulant, MDMA or MDA. Compared to all oral fluid samples that were positive for at least one or more drug of abuse and or novel drugs, the positivity rate for a novel stimulant, MDMA and or MDA, was 51.5%. People like to have a good time, I just said that. The majority of oral fluid samples collected contain more than one drug or novel substance, suggesting high rates of polydrug use within this population, possibly increasing the potential for adverse events. I feel like that's a dumb, maybe we shouldn't have funded money to study that. The initial hypothesis regarding novel stimulant positivity among different geographical locations was that there would be a difference in the novel stimulant seen because of drug trafficking patterns or regional variability. But you're all in like the southeast of America. I feel like you should have done something other than Atlanta and like 2 locations in Florida. A limitation of the geographical comparison is that all locations, okay, I just said this, are in the southeastern part of the United States. There was not a distinct difference in positivity in locations from Miami to Tampa to Atlanta, while there are slight differences between Miami and Atlanta compared to Tampa. This could not be determined to be indicative or related solely to the geographic location, and ethyl pentalone positivity was decreased in Atlanta compared to Tampa, which could either reflect regional differences or a shift back to MDMA. MDMA and MDA positivity were both relatively stable across all 3 locations. Interestingly, the results from Miami and Atlanta are more consistent, the 2 locations furthest from each other, rather than with Tampa, the location in the center. Okay, results make no sense. City and attendee demographics could play a role in this distinction, but again, this information cannot be discerned from this study. Following their initial identification in this population, the metabolic profiles of dibutylone and N-ethylpentalone were studied. During this research period, we were able to confirm the metabolism of dibutylone to butylone for the first time, as well as identify a selective biomarker for toxicological testing, 1,1,3-benzodioxyl 5-YL2-dimethylaminobutan 1-OL. Hydrogenization of the ketone on dibutylone. The metabolic profiling of N-ethylpentalone resulted in the identification of 4 metabolites. Consistent with dibutylone, the most prominent metabolite of N-ethylpentalone was found to be 1,1,3-benzodioxyl 5-YL2 ethyl amino pentyl 1 hydrogenation of the ketone in dibutylone. So what does this actually mean? Implications for policy and practice. The goals for this project were to further develop techniques for and demonstrate the value of monitoring an at-risk high-incidence novel drug using a population as a sentinel group for tracking changes in the novel drug market in the United States. There are several lessons learned from the project in both the public health and public safety domains, where the lessons learned from the study can influence policy. Drug use has significant public health implications, including immediate life-threatening psychological and physical effects, ranging from effects on mood, cognition, appetite, wakefulness, hypertension, respiration, and cardiac effects, including stroke and cardiac arrest. Drug use may also affect the individual's academic, mental, social, and economic health. The consequences from these effects in turn impact social and health systems and impact public costs, crossing many pharmacological categories, including stimulants, hallucinogens, narcotics, depressants, and dissociatives with a wide range of physiological and psychological side effects. Novel drugs have the potential to negatively impact the economic health and social stability of many social classes in the United States. Some implications for further research. We have developed a novel, robust, efficient, and evidence-based model for monitoring drug use in at-risk populations. The lessons learned were in areas including logistics of deployment, including field sample collection, specimen storage and shipping, successful recruiting strategies for encouraging participation by subjects, coordination with local law enforcement, interview instruments for collecting self-report drug use data, addressing human subject concerns of IRBs, identification of the most efficient sample collection techniques, validation of analytical methods for comprehensive screening of traditional, recreational, therapeutic, and novel drugs, and dissemination channels for sharing this information. The model can be readily deployed to study other drugs or other drug-using populations. With respect to novel drug use in the EDM population, additional follow-up testing of the population is strongly recommended, as the latest data shows that the use profile of available and popular novel drugs is still changing rapidly, and MDMA positivity is increasing. Future studies could be conducted more efficiently with fewer peer recruiters using an oral fluid-only model. Opportunities for future research in this area include the following: continued updating distribution of libraries of novel drugs and their metabolites, continued monitoring of the EDM population, expanding the number of events tested to broader geographic locations and different music genres, performing more comprehensive surveys using smartphone technology, performing on-site testing of drug preparations and doses using mobile technology, and performing testing of contents of amnesty bins. I assume amnesty bins where we just drop drugs off that we don't want to deal with and nobody worries about you. I don't know what an amnesty bin is, but okay. Okay, yeah, we shouldn't assume that just the techno heads are doing drugs. Other people do drugs too. You boomers and things should know that. Alright, now is the following contributions in this project, and I'm just going down so we can look at the appendix. So, biological samples collected at all festivals. And here is the nice happy breakdown. So marijuana, probably the biggest, and then ecstasy, Molly, MDMA. Then we have good old LSD, and then cocaine, amphetamine, mushrooms, ketamine, Xanax. I do not know what Vivenses is, because I'm not cool anymore. MDMA, oxycodone, LSA, DMT. Ooh, I don't, okay. DMT is kind of crazy. I watched some YouTube videos. Methamphetamine, hydrocodone, morphine, and Concerta, which I've also not heard of. So that's the self-reported. And there's the self-reported use over for the site. So yeah, a lot of Molly. Confirmatory results for novel stimulants and oral fluid samples. Confirmatory results from the oral fluid samples and oral fluid samples. Oh, here we go. Here's some graphs. Sorry, trying to get back to the graphs. Novel stimulant percent positivity across 4 years in Miami. So, okay. This is rising. This is dropping. This is going somewhere. Yeah. And then you have this graph, which is sort of squanched. So, yeah. The angles look sharper. I don't know. So it's a little weird. Not quite sure what to make of that. Novel stimulant percent positivity across 3 locations, 2017 only. So this is on track, and then this was the one they mentioned. These are pretty. Alright, so what is this one? Overall ecstasy, Molly, and MDMA survey responses versus novel stimulant positivity. So ecstasy, Molly, MDMA, mixture of terms. Okay, and that is that. So hopefully we all learned something. Yeah, don't go to EDM festivals, and if they ask you to let you test them and or self-report, get the heck out of there. No, this is what they're doing it for. And again, this is like way back in 2018, so it's old, but it's also, I don't know, how many years have we had post-pandemic now? Gosh, time flies. Anyway, thank you for watching if you did.